In 2018, the US launched sweeping tariffs targeting China, marking the start of a new era in global trade tensions. The move was intended to address what the US saw as unfair trade practices and a growing trade deficit, but it quickly sent shockwaves through the international community. Surprisingly, these tariffs didn't just hit China, they also affected close allies like Canada, catching many off guard and straining long-standing partnerships. The US imposed a hefty 25% tariff on imported steel, a move that rippled through industries from construction to manufacturing, raising costs for American businesses and consumers alike. Aluminum imports were also targeted, with a 10% tariff justified under the banner of national security, further escalating tensions with trading partners. In response, Canada acted swiftly, slapping tariffs on $12 billion worth of American goods. These countermeasures were carefully chosen to hit products from politically sensitive regions, amplifying the pressure on US policymakers. What began as a targeted dispute quickly spiraled into a tit-for-tat escalation, with each side raising the stakes. The resulting trade war strained decades of economic cooperation and trust between the two nations. The G7 summit that year became a flashpoint, with US and Canadian leaders clashing publicly. The usually cordial atmosphere was replaced by tense negotiations and sharp rhetoric, making headlines around the world. Eventually, the USMCA, an updated trade agreement, helped lift the original tariffs and restore some stability. Yet beneath the surface, mistrust lingered, and the wounds from the trade war were slow to heal. By 2025, new threats of tariffs emerged, this time tied not just to trade, but to broader issues like immigration policy and border security, showing how interconnected and fragile these relationships had become. The ongoing cycle of conflict and uneasy truces left businesses and consumers in a state of constant uncertainty, with prices fluctuating and supply chains disrupted. For Alaska, these international disputes aren't just distant headlines, they shape daily life. The state's economy and communities are deeply intertwined with cross-border trade. Alaska's unique geography, with its reliance on Canadian routes for goods and services, makes it especially vulnerable to any disruption in US-Canada trade flows. Every new tariff or threat reverberates through Alaskan communities, driving up prices, threatening jobs, and making it harder for families to make ends meet. The fragile peace in North American trade means Alaskans live with the constant risk of renewed conflict, always wondering when the next dispute will hit home. For them, global trade wars aren't just abstract policy battles. They're felt at home, in their businesses, and at their dinner tables, every single day. Alaska is separated from the rest of the US by over 500 miles of Canada, making it the only state not directly connected to the lower 48. This vast stretch of foreign land means that every road trip, every truckload of supplies, and every family journeying home must pass through another country. This unique geography makes Alaska deeply dependent on its neighbor to the east, relying on Canada not just for access, but for the very flow of daily life. Over 80% of Alaska's goods travel the Alaska Highway, a 300-mile ribbon of road that serves as the state's vital supply artery, carrying everything from groceries and fuel to medicine and building materials. But since 2018, trade disputes and shifting international policies have turned this lifeline into a choke point. New tariffs, stricter inspections, and mountains of paperwork have caused costly delays at the border. Truckers lost precious time and money, sometimes waiting hours or even days to clear customs, while perishable goods risk spoiling in the process. For Alaskan businesses, these delays meant uncertainty, rising costs, and the constant fear of empty shelves or missed deliveries. The Alaska Highway, built during World War II as a symbol of US-Canada cooperation and resilience, now highlights the economic rift that can emerge even between close allies. What was once a seamless route for travelers and goods has become a source of anxiety for Alaskans, who now watch the news for updates on border policies and trade negotiations. Every new trade threat or diplomatic spat sends ripples along the highway's 1,300 miles, affecting everyone from truckers to families in remote villages. The state's reliance on this corridor is now seen as a vulnerability, not just a connection, a single point where Alaska's lifeline can be squeezed. When the flow of goods slows, the entire Alaskan economy feels the squeeze, from big retailers to small-town grocers and families trying to make ends meet. The health of the Alaska Highway is directly tied to Alaska's well-being, shaping the rhythm of daily life and the security of its future. Trade tensions have turned what was once a symbol of unity and partnership into a point of friction and uncertainty. For Alaskans, the stakes are immediate and personal. each border delay, each policy change is felt in their homes, their businesses, and their communities. In 2024, British Columbia proposed introducing tolls on the Alaska Highway, a move that sent shockwaves through communities on both sides of the border. The highway, stretching over 1,300 miles through rugged wilderness, has long been a vital artery connecting Alaska to the rest of the United States. Officials cited the urgent need for infrastructure funding, pointing to aging bridges, crumbling pavement, and the high cost of maintaining such a remote route. They argued that tolls were the only way to ensure the highway's future. But for Alaskans, the proposal felt like an unfair tax on their only land link to the lower 48. Many saw it as a barrier that would isolate them from family, friends, and essential services. Trucking companies warned that tolls would drive up prices for food, fuel, and other essentials, making life even more expensive in a state already known for its high cost of living. Local families and small businesses braced for the impact, worried that higher costs would hit their budgets hard and threaten their livelihoods. The proposal sparked outrage across Alaska, with many seeing it as a betrayal of the highway's cooperative legacy, a symbol of unity during World War II, now at risk of becoming a point of division. Alaskans argued passionately that the road was built for open passage, not for profit, and that tolls would undermine decades of shared history and sacrifice. The debate quickly escalated, with politicians and citizens on both sides demanding the plan be scrapped, and public meetings growing increasingly heated. Negotiations between governments stalled, leaving the future of the highway, and the communities that depend on it, uncertain and anxious. The construction of toll booths added a new physical barrier to an already strained relationship, fueling resentment and frustration. For Alaska, the threat is not just economic, it's existential. The tolls challenge their sense of connection, identity, and independence. Now, as the sun sets over the empty highway, its fate hangs in the balance, and the future of this historic road remains uncertain. The toll proposal triggered a legal showdown over the 1977 Alaska Highway Agreement. This treaty guarantees free, unimpeded travel between Alaska and the lower 48. Alaskan officials argue tolls violate both the spirit and letter of the agreement. Canadian officials counter that user fees for maintenance aren't explicitly forbidden. The dispute centers on whether tolls are a barrier or a necessary upkeep measure. With talks stalled, the issue may head to international arbitration. The legal uncertainty clouds the future of Alaska's only land route. For Alaskans, the outcome will decide if their lifeline remains open or becomes a costly obstacle. The stakes are high, and the clock is ticking. Trade wars ripple through global supply chains, creating uncertainty far beyond the negotiating table. Businesses face unpredictable costs, stalling investment, and slowing economic growth worldwide. For Alaska, these global shifts hit home fast. The state's economy, tourism, fishing, resource extraction, depends on stable international markets. A global slowdown means fewer tourists, lower seafood demand, and volatile oil prices. The trade war with Canada disrupts Alaska's supply chain, compounding the pain. Tariffs and tolls drive up the cost of everything from groceries to fuel. For families, higher prices mean tough choices and tighter budgets. The impact of global policy is felt in every Alaskan kitchen. Trade disputes aren't abstract, they're a daily financial burden. For Alaskans, the world's economic battles are fought at the checkout line. The trade war's human cost is felt in every Alaskan community. Small business owners face delays and rising costs, threatening their survival. Uncertainty stifles investment and job creation, making it harder for young people to build a future. Families stretch paychecks further as shipping costs drive up prices on essentials. Everyday tasks, filling the car, buying groceries, become sources of stress. The tourism industry, vital to many towns, suffers as border tensions and toll threats deter visitors. Seasonal communities dependent on summer travelers face an uncertain future. For many, the trade war is not distant politics, it's a fight for survival. The stakes are nothing less than the future of Alaska's way of life. Despite these challenges, Alaskans are defined by resilience, not victimhood. A movement to support local businesses and reduce reliance on imports is gaining strength. Farmers markets and local manufacturers are thriving as Alaskans buy local. New entrepreneurs are stepping up, finding ways to meet needs from within the state. Efforts to improve sea and air shipping are underway, aiming to diversify supply routes. The crisis has sparked innovation and unity, not defeat. Political advocacy and community support are stronger than ever. Alaskans are determined to protect their future and emerge stronger. Adversity has forged a new sense of purpose and self-reliance. The last frontier is proving it can weather any storm.